Hello and welcome to part 2 of belt making with me, Jo from J.H.Leather. So we're going to start off where we left the last video, where we're now going to put a buckle in the turn and mark up for stitch marking. So put your buckle in that you're using and you want to squish your turn, and then with your thumbnail you want to get nice and tight as to where your stitching will go and just mark a little line across. Now once you've done that, you will want to get your set square and mark the line on the other side as well so they're in line. So after you've sort of marked them out with your set square, set your dividers, and you're going to draw a line between these two marks. So I set mine to about 1/8 of an inch, so it's the same distance in from my crease line as my crease line is from the edge of the leather. And then you just mark this all the way around. So once you've done that, you want to get the stitch marker that you'll be using. I'm using a number 7. I like using this for belts, nice big strong stitches. And just stitch mark around sort of on your line what you've just marked. When you're doing around the turn, so around the egg point, if you just angle your stitch marker back, and you'll be able to sort of go around there nicely. Okay, so once you've stitch marked the first side, spin it around and stitch mark the second side in the same way. Right, so once you've done your stitch marking, you want to skive your turn. So just with your head knife, take it from the back of the crew down to the end of the point, and you just want to get this down to half thickness. You want this nice and smooth sort of gradient. You don't want any dips or lumps in it. So you can take your time with this and just get it so it's a nice smooth sort of skive down to the end. Once you've done it and you're happy, you can just sort of cut off the fluffy bits. Right, so we're going to mark out for looping. I'm just doing a fixed loop, so with that we'll just put our looping strip around and mark off where it butts up to itself, and then just cut it off here. We're then going to find the sort of centre point of the turn, so we'll put the buckle back in, and then with our looping strip we will put it sort of in line with the centre, and we'll just mark a little line across where the edge of the leather goes, and that will be where we tack sort of the looping strip into. So that's what I'm just doing here. Okay, so we're going to tap this loop in between the first and the second stitch mark so it gets caught in the first stitch. So once you're happy where you got your placement, just tack it in with a little tack, and then just put another one in just to keep the turn sort of in place. Right, so we're now going to get ready for stitching. So you want about an arm's length of thread for this, and you're just going to put your wax over it, get it nice and waxy, then run it through your fingers, and this will just keep it a bit waterproof. And if you've got a little helper like I have here with Skylar, they can always check it out for you. Okay, so once you've done that, once it's ready to go, you just want to lock that onto both of the needles. Okay, so this is what your belt should look like so far with it being stitch marked, and you'll have your loop tacked in between your first and second stitch marks like this. So we're now going to go on and stitch our belt. Okay, we're now going to start stitching our belts. So first of all we will be putting or pre-awling the first and second stitch mark. This will be for our back stitch. Okay, so once you've done that, you want to put your first needle through the second hole that you've just made, and then level out your threads. Okay, we're now going to perform the first back stitch, so you want to go back into the first hole that you made from the left, pull the needle through. You can use pliers. I was having a bit of issues with this one. If your needle does get stuck, and then put back through with your right hand needle, and you just want to pull that thread nice and tight. Now we're going to put our needles over the top of the leather and go back through that same hole. Now this will just sort of make that stitch nice and tight on the other side of that loop. Again, if you're having trouble getting your threads out like I am there, you can just use the pliers to sort of pull the needle out. It's just the holes that I made with my awl obviously weren't big enough for all of the threads and the needles to go through at the same time. Okay, so once you've done that, you want to take out that tack you've just put in, and now you will continue stitching sort of towards yourself all the way around. So, and off we go, really. Right, so I'm just going to speed this bit up and we'll cut back into where we're just about to finish stitching the belt. Okay, so when you sort of get to the end of it, you want to pre-awl where your loop is going to go back in, just so you got the holes on the other side, and it's a lot easier to stitch if you do this. So pre-awl the last sort of 5 or so holes, and you want to put your loop in just to see where it's going to sit to. I mean, you make sure this is in line as well with the other one, you don't want it wonky. Alright. Okay, so now we've got our loop in, you just carry on sort of stitching as normal. You just want to make sure you don't awl through the loop. You don't really want to do that, that's less than ideal. So just make sure it's in the right place, so it's caught between the first and second stitch. Well, from the end, so second to last and the last stitch. Then just stitch through, and because you've pre-awled it, it's a lot easier to stitch now. So you can move that loop out of the way, just so you don't awl through it. And then... Now I've made this look a lot more difficult than it is at this point, so it is a bit fiddly because the loop can move a bit, but you just want to sort of get that needle through the hole that you've just made. And like I said, I have made this look a lot more difficult than it is. I don't know what I was doing that day. Yeah, so just carry on stitching through there, and remember you need to put your stitch through your thread through the loop so you don't stitch over it. Else you'll just, if you do that, just take the needle off and just unpick that stitch that you just made. Okay, so when we get to the end, we're going to do a stitch over the edge again. So do your last stitch and then swap your threads over the top. Again, this is just to well, match the other side, and it just sort of closes that loop, that turn a little bit more than it would do without it. Okay, so once you've done that, you want to do 1.5 stitches back. So both threads will be on sort of the top side of this, I guess, where the loop is, and then just cut them off. Okay, so once you've finished stitching, just go ahead and cut the ends of the threads off, and you should have something that looks similar to this, hopefully. Okay, so we finished stitching the belt now, so that is the biggest sort of part of it, really. So this is where we're going to end this video. In the next video, we will be learning how to finish off, block that loop up, and we'll be punching the holes, and you should have your finished belt. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe for more videos and tutorials. Part 3 will be finishing off the belt, which you can go to by clicking the video in the bottom right hand corner. If you want to go back to part 1, you can click the video in the top right hand corner. Thanks for watching. Bye!